It's running. Nathan's making an adjustment. We show it's 9 o'clock. It's your meeting, Mr. President.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the regular board meeting for the Board of Directors of Columbia 911 Communications District. We'll do a roll call here. Mr. Anderson. Hey. Hello, sir. Mr. Heimuller. Here. Good to see you all and staff as well, and anyone else in attendance here. Let me make my grid view bigger. Guests. Morning, Mr. Miller and staff. All right, let's talk about any public comment there we have listed. Anybody sign up?
No, sir.
Okay, I don't see nothing red on the chat. All right, we'll move on to additions to the agenda. Are there any additions to today's agenda that can be added?
None from staff.
All right. Directors are good, sounds like. Okay. All right, how about the approval of the May 27th, 2021 regular meeting minutes?
Mr. Chair, I move approval.
All second. Excellent. It's been moved and seconded to approve the May 27, 2021 regular meeting minutes. Is there any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion carries. Financial reports. Nancy, do you have anything you want to say? You know, we just jump right into these spreadsheets and approval. Do you want to say something?
No, I have my report where I've said what I need to say, but no, we're looking good this time of year.
I figured as much. I think about this after the fact all the time. It's like, but like you said, the report's there. It reads well. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Those are very nice.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve the budget variance report as presented.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve the budget variance report as presented. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Excellent. Motion carries. Double checking here, right? We have no Bruce, right? It's just us three? Okay.
Bruce is on vacation.
Copy that. All right. Approval of expenditures.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the expenditure report from check number 30194 through 30257, plus the electronic payments as described in the total of $405,611.05.
What's Rob doing?
I'm sorry, second.
Oh, okay, good. Hey, it's okay to ponder, you know?
Well, you know, guys, I hate to do this, but can I request that we take maybe a 10-minute break? So I just got a message because it sounds like I might have to take Mom back to the ED. So if I can make a quick phone call, and then I'll be right back.
I will entertain that, and yeah, let's take a quick break because we need a quorum here. So yeah, good luck, Rob. Take care of what you got to do.
All right, thanks. I'll be right back in about 10 minutes.
Okay. And Rob, are you okay if we move forward with other agenda items that don't require a vote? Or would you like us to wait? We can wait.
Whatever you guys need to do that doesn't require a quorum.
Okay. Thank you, Rob.
Okay, thank you.
All right. I think if you guys are okay, can we keep moving with the operations manager and technical manager reports? Mr. Heimuller, are you okay with that?
Yeah, let's just make sure we acknowledge we don't have a vote on this motion right now, so we'll have to come back to the motion.
Thank you very much. With that, Laura, are you available there for your operations manager report?
I am. So, previously we had an applicant in backgrounds and then one going through the psych process. So the gentleman in the psych process has moved forward. We're going to be hiring him. His start date is next Tuesday. And then the gentleman in the background did not proceed forward. So we recently went through interviews, and so we do have another candidate in background. And our plan is to reopen the recruitment the week of the fair, because we are going to have a booth there. And so we're going to be out talking with hopefully community members and people visiting the fair and trying to do some recruitment there. So we thought it would be a good idea to have the posting available and open at that time, so if people are interested, they could go apply. As far as inquiries, nothing.
I have a question about that. Are there any commercially available recruitment products out there that we could use? For instance, videos that could be running that talk about the history of a 911 dispatcher and some things like that, so that we actually had some professional, really out for, besides having great dispatchers out there talking it up, is there some stuff that we could simply order and get here in the next couple of weeks so that we have a real video presence? I mean, especially the younger generation folks, really like seeing that stuff on the big screen right in front of them. It seems like that would be a really good marketing tool, and I'm sure that we don't have to invent anything. I'm sure there's stuff like that out there commercially available through one of our organizations. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I love the idea. So, we can look into that and see what's available, what's out there, and if we can make it happen in time. If not, we can definitely make sure we have it available for any next event that we do. So, definitely. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
And really the only other update I have is we went live with our scheduling program this month. So far so good. It's just a little bit of a learning curve with it, but ultimately I think it's going to be pretty valuable for us. So that's all I have.
Can you talk a little more about that? Is that the staff scheduling? Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah, so previously we were doing everything just via a Google Sheet. So now we're with a scheduling program called Schedule Express, where we can post overtime there. Employees can manually pick it up and assign themselves as long as the supervisor approves it. It helps us to identify coverage needs if there are any. So it's just nice, kind of one-stop shop, and then we can access it from our phones if we're not here and somebody calls out and we need to make adjustments. So,
Nice.
yeah.
Even on the admin side, staff members can request time off, managers approve it all electronically, so no more paper slips and losing paper slips and accounting of that stuff.
It's so funny. I'm trying to get away from paper, but it's just so prevalent.
Yeah.
Anything else for Laura? You got anything, questions? Anything else you want to add, Laura?
Nope.
All right. Mr. Hughes.
So this month's been mostly me cleaning up, taking care of shop around here. I've been working with Columbia River Fire and Rescue to help set up their MDCs so that they can go live with that. Working on getting bids and starting the process for seeing what it'd take to upgrade our radio site security now that we're nearing the end of our current security upgrade, and integrating that all into one suite. And then radio site networking, so I'm looking at upgrading our current network setup at each radio site so that there's more redundancy and more reliability with our part of the network there, not the radio network, just ours.
Nice. I see you said there it will support the bandwidth increase. So I'm guessing if you put some cameras and stuff up there, kind of get that back to us. How does that work?
So there's a couple things. So I'm not going to go into detail in a public format about what we have at radio sites, but as we have visited with board in previous meetings, as the district is upgrading the microwave system as a whole, and we're doing that onesie-twosies. We've done the Green Mountain to Clatskanie, and now we're working on pathways between Dixie and Dispatch and Clatskanie to Vernonia. Part of that process, as we upgrade those microwave antennas and equipment radios, we're increasing the pipe, the data pipe. So how much data we can transfer across that platform. That will allow us to enhance our security features, because the security system mode of transport, the most cost effective, is via microwave, but that requires bandwidth. And so as we are upgrading these sites individually, we're increasing the bandwidth. What we don't finish on our own, we will complete when we finish out or upgrade the entire radio network. What microwave sites aren't done will be a part of that project.
Thanks, Mike. Yeah, I was just curious, you know, how does security get back to our place? Yeah, that makes sense.
Yep.
Use that existing infrastructure. Thank you. Thanks, Nathan. Anything for Nathan? Anything else? Okay. We can get back into, let's see, is Rob back? No, still back. Okay. How about old business?
Old business.
Fletcher.
Yes, sir. So start off the agenda, the radio system, Dixie Mountain. We have contact with the right people now who's managing the site. As I've shared in previous meetings, the actual district manager was relocated to Washington, D.C. on a temporary assignment, temporary meaning maybe a year or two. But we now have his replacement in place, and we're working with that gentleman as well as the lease office for the FAA, and we're compiling the new equipment that we're requesting to place in there. It's different from what was originally on the application several years ago. So that is in play. Alternate radio site coverage, there's nothing new on there. That's all still waiting on construction on the WACA side. Next gen radio system, our work continues with federal engineering. I have to say I'm very impressed and pleased with the participation of the radio work group, including the stakeholders. We've brought the stakeholders in on request of federal engineering to talk about, it's reaffirming some of the work that I did with all of the users of the system the last year and a half. And so what they're doing is validating that content. Great participation, so I appreciate that. The goal has been that we would have a draft report available by the end of July. The next board meeting is scheduled for July 22nd, so we're not going to make that. There's been some slippage in the timeline of the project. Unforeseen, I was out on some FMLA stuff for a while, so that was unanticipated. And then one of their GIS people who are working on the maps was also absent for a week. So we did slip it, but our new goal is they will provide it to me, and I will have them here to answer questions on their work. The goal is the August board meeting. So that's going on very well. Let's see. Clatskanie, nothing new there. The site's good. Meisner site improvements, a lot of work going on there. So as we've shared before, the planning department approved everything. We've moved into the building permits department. They have asked some clarifying questions, have had meetings earlier this week with the engineer and the construction manager, and we're getting those answers to the building permit folks. I have the draft RFP for the civil construction work. We're just dotting the I's and crossing the T's there, and it will be under review for legal. Just a couple of questions that I had for our attorney regarding that RFP, and then we will be publishing that. Tow contracts, nothing new there. ASA, there's no movement there. Security access control, the project here is still wrapping up. A few minor components. I have a question for Mary Jo. MJ, did we post this, the RQI renewal? Okay. So we have a renewal. This is old business. We have a contract with the RQI Telecommunications Program. That's our CPR training. We've had conversations in meetings past about an enhancement to that contract. We have put that off to the side, but we have our regular renewal contract. This is for the training portion of RQI. It is a static amount. It's $7,425 per year. We have a quote here for 2 years, $14,850. We'll upload this to the web and we can send this to you, but it's just a renewal for a 2-year period. So I'm looking for the board's pleasure on that.
All right, looks like we still can't make any action on it.
I just woke up to that. That's correct. I'm sorry about that. So we'll set that. Yes, sir.
Do we have to renew it at 2 years at a block, and do we have to pay for all that at one time, or do we just pay for it quarterly, or how does that go?
We can pay it yearly.
Okay. And is there a reason to do it in a 2-year contract, or is it does it make any difference? Is the price less if the longer the term is, or any of that stuff?
No, I don't believe so. And Laura, you can jump in there. I think our initial was a 2-year commitment. Is that correct? And then this is just a rerun of it. But we could do it year to year.
I would say if it's cheaper to, in some way there's a financial benefit to do a longer term, that's one thing. But if there's not, I wouldn't commit to anything, or certainly not pay for it in advance if it doesn't get us any bang for the buck.
Understood. Do you see a problem with that, Laura, just reverting it to a year to year?
I don't. I think, as with anything, pricing's going to increase. So as long as we're locked in on that price, then we'll be okay. I don't anticipate not wanting to continue with this training. It is pretty valuable. I don't know if you guys heard recently, there was a cardiac event that happened at the dockside where it was a confirmed save where responders went, and our newest employees, the ones who took that call and provided those life-saving instructions until responders did arrive on scene. And in talking to her afterwards, she felt pretty confident with it, and we were discussing how that plays a part in the specific training that she's had since she started, because those can be intimidating calls to take. And so having had the specific training and then also the scenario training with them was beneficial. So I don't see a need to discontinue it at any point. I think there's enough value in it for new employees as well as career employees. So I would hope that we would continue it for at least 2 years. But I'm okay to pay however.
And Rob, just for your edification here, we're on old business RQI renewal. We're contemplating 1 year versus a 2 year on it. It's up for renewal. Henry suggested that if it's no difference in amount, that we go for an annual instead of a 2 year. And Laura was just kind of giving us some additional info on that. So the question at hand is, do we want to have a motion for a 1 year, or do we know what that price is, or do we get that price?
Well,
I'm on kind of a line where Henry's at. I did, between phone calls, I had the speaker on the background, so I heard some of the discussions that took place, and I'm here until I may get a phone call back, return call. So thank you, everyone. But I'm in agreement with Henry that it'd be nice to see if they have an incentive for securing 2 years versus 1. And if they don't, I like the 1-year contract because it gives us that option to, so if we don't end up not liking something, to easily get out within a year.
Okay, point of order here, fellas and folks. Let's go ahead and we had a second on the approval of expenditures. So if it's okay, I'd like to go ahead and take a vote on that. And it had been moved and seconded, if I remember correctly. It's been what, 4 minutes now? Correct? Did we have a second on that?
So
We had
correct.
a second, but we had not gone into discussion.
Correct.
Okay, so let's go back in discussion on expenditures and close that motion. I'll open it for questions. And hearing none, I happen to notice, oh, never mind, I figured that out. Yeah, I looked through the numbers and saw something, but I'm good. Any other music? Okay, hearing none, it has been moved and seconded to approve expenditures, check number 30194 through 30257, including electronic payments and transfers for a total of $405,611.05. Yeah, I'm sorry, I kind of did a weird order there, but there was no discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Okay, thank you. But it messed up too much. Sorry, let's head back down to the RQI issue then.
I think we should do this.
I have a question on that. When does our contract with them expire?
July.
July 1.
So you're looking for a motion today to renew this thing. And so perhaps Laura, if we could table that for a little bit, maybe Laura can get on the phone with these people and pass on some of our discussion here today and see what their, if there's no discounts or incentive programs or anything like that, I'd be happy to take action on it. But if there is some kind of negotiation that you could do here shortly, it'd be nice to hear that before we took action without all the information that we could use.
Laura, are you able to contact Julie?
I can reach out via email and see if she's available. I know that her schedule's pretty full with travel and doing RQI business, but I will reach out and see if I can get in touch with her.
Okay, so we'll table it, is what I'm hearing. Laura, if you could do that now, and then we can come back even in this meeting. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Mr. President,
Okay.
oops.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, I think I just lost my camera. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Oh, can you? Okay. We still have some work to do on the financial portion. We have some resolutions that we need to pass or take action on in case we lose Rob.
Okay.
There you are. So before the board is Resolution 21-01, 21-02, 21-03, the adopting of the budget, making appropriations, declaring and levy the categorizing taxes.
Well, Mr. Chair, can I propose as a slate that we approve Resolution 21-01, 21-02, and 21-03 as presented?
And I'll second that. I did have a discussion point.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to approve resolutions 21-01, 21-02, and 21-03 as presented in our packet. And discussion.
I was just going to point out, just on the agenda here, I think that just so that there's no confusion, that it says declaring and levy and categorizing taxes. I think that was a little bit confusing the way that was presented in the agenda, but I just wanted to make sure I wasn't reading that wrong.
Nancy's looking at the documents.
It probably should be levying.
I didn't hear what Nancy said.
That it could be changed to levying,
Declaring and
ING.
levying.
declaring and levying,
Levying.
and categorizing
The
taxes.
appropriate language is on the resolution on 21-01. I just wanted to make sure that there was no confusion about the fact that the resolution, which sounds correct to me, doesn't match exactly what was said in the agenda.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, noted.
Any other discussion?
Should be declaring a levy.
Declaring a levy.
Okay. Hearing no further discussion, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor of approving resolutions 2101, 2102, 2103, signify by saying aye.
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 Oh, God, how are we
Motion carries.
We need to get them to sign all
Okay.
this.
Jumping back down to old business, looks like.
Can I pause for just a moment here, Sean?
Yep.
So, does all board members have to sign? So, just a new world here. We're doing all this remotely. Normally, when you're all here, we'd have you sign these resolutions. So, we're going to have to make arrangements to meet up with you as a board to get these signed.
By July 15th.
Yeah, by the deadline's July 1/5/15.
You gonna send somebody around today, or?
Yeah, there's conversation in the room between Mary Jo and
Oh, yeah.
Nancy and I, so we're going to work that out.
All right.
Very good. Thank you. Sorry about that. New world. Laura's working on the RQI contact, see if we can circle back around on that. And
Should we move on to the board member vacancy?
yes, sir. We have
Okay.
Shelley Hennessy has joined us. Hi, Shelley. Welcome. Mr. President.
Welcome, Shelley. Thank you very much for your interest in being a part of our well-run machine here. As you can tell, we're just regular people trying to do the good work of the constituents here, and we're looking for other good people that want to help us with our mission. And I think I trust we've all seen your letter. Thanks for your letter of interest. I do want to make sure that you understand that you're applying for a board position with the Columbia 911 Communications District and not the county, because we are not that organization. We are separate. So I only bring that up because your letter addresses the Columbia County Board of Commissioners. So just make sure we're clear.
Oh, gotcha.
Important distinction. We do not share budgets. We don't, we're a completely separate entity. So, it looks like you have way more experience than I ever did coming into this. And I only say that because I'm not sure that you necessarily have to have a ton of experience, but you have to be able to understand the information and digest it and hopefully talk about it with some intelligence. And I love what you got there in your background. Is there anything you'd like to tell us?
Not really. I kind of just jumped in there. I wasn't sure what you needed me to write or wanted to hear, so I'm just a normal person wanting to help out. So thanks, Henry, for asking. For folks,
I think Shelley's being a little bit modest here, but we did, I spent some time, as did others, reaching out to the community members in Vernonia to come up with a good candidate to fill the large shoes that Dave Crawford has left behind. And Shelley, who, full disclosure, at some point in time in both of our paths has actually worked for me and with me at Metro West Ambulance Service. But more importantly than that, Shelley has been an EMT with the Metro West Volunteers, has been affiliated with the Vernonia Fire Department, runs the school bus service over there, and is a huge community advocate and supporter in the Nehalem Valley. And as we were calling around and trying to make sure that the word was out that a volunteer was needed for our board, every time I brought up Shelley's name to other community members in Vernonia, they were going, "Oh yeah, there's a natural fit right there." So nobody's ever up to full speed until they get on a board and actually start to serve. But I think the foundational qualities that Shelley has to offer from a multifaceted level of experiences in her life will certainly strengthen our board. And so again, Shelley can be a little bit modest in her self-analysis, but that doesn't mean that I have to be. And I think that she would be a good fit. We did have, I think, 3 different applicants that for one reason or the other have some of them have withdrawn their names and that, but I'm pleased that Shelley has stayed the game, and I certainly would recommend her for this position.
Killing me.
Thank you.
Well, having a willingness is definitely a great first step. Rob, you have any questions for Shelley?
Myself, I don't. Being involved in emergency services in the county for a while, we have crossed paths a few times. So Shelley is not an entirely brand new face for me. The only interesting thing about it is, as I started on the board, was being a user of the board, of the agency, and then we have Bruce, and now we're going to have Shelley, which I am fine with, since Shelley's the only one that submitted a letter of interest, and more importantly, since she does represent the actual target area that we want to make sure that there is representation from Vernonia and the Mist area.
From our zone.
Yes, I just want to, even though it covers Warren and part of McNulty, even though it has kind of weird boundaries that go into this part, the Scappoose St. Helens side of the county, it's nice that we actually have someone from Vernonia and the Mist area.
Agreed.
Just with that being said, we did put out open letters, and Shelley is the only one who did stick through the process, and I 100% support her for the position.
Shelley, I have just a question of clarification. Are you still affiliated with Metro West or the Fire District?
No, neither one.
Yeah, I thought that you had retired from both of those positions. With that being said, Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we accept the application of Shelley Hennessy for our representative for Zone 4.
Just a matter of process here. Is this?
If you give me just 1 second.
This isn't swearing in. Yes, sir.
I'm sorry, I have to step. My apologies again. I have to step away for real quick to take this phone call. I will be right back.
Okay. No problem. And Shelley, just so you understand, this doesn't usually happen, and we totally support what Rob is doing, obviously, but this is kind of this doesn't usually happen.
I totally understand.
Yeah, life happens, as we all know, right?
Yep, it sure does.
Let's
Just as a process piece, Mr. Chair, I don't know. I've got a motion on the floor. I don't know if it needs to be seconded before we table it, or if it just dies for lack of second. But
I will second that motion. Yeah.
Then I would suggest that we set it aside until we get a quorum.
Can do. Mike, are you ready to keep moving on old business with no action?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Going back down to old business, Policy review is tabled. Admin phone system replacement, part of Nathan's new exciting duties for this next fiscal year. We'll continue researching and soliciting bids for the replacement of our administrative phone side of the house. The next item on our agenda, I need a quorum.
All right, let's, as long as new business doesn't require a vote or quorum, let's talk about Corey Hill vandalism, if that's all right.
Right, so 2 weeks ago, I was out of town, out of state actually, and was notified that our Corey Hill Vernonia site had been broken into. We were in good company in the fact that we got hit. T-Mobile, Verizon, AT&T were also broken into. Our shelter itself was not breached, so all of our radio equipment remains intact, but that's really about it. The bad guys came in through the fence. They did cut all of our video feeds, destroyed our equipment up there. They removed all of the in-ground grounding equipment. They have basically dismantled the generator parts. I mean, everything down to the spark plugs, batteries.
All copper.
Yeah, they were metal thieves. So what we have been doing since that point in time, when I discovered this, I had a telephone conversation with the board president, informing him what I knew at that point. Since then, we're itemizing all the missing parts and pieces between Oregon Western Electric, Power Systems West, Day Wireless. We're itemizing those lists. We have the insurance company on it. We have an adjuster assigned to us, and we're just gathering information for the insurance company. Obviously, the local law enforcement was notified. The last I heard, they did have somebody in custody, but again, that's a law thing, and we're not involved in that part. I'll keep you informed as we move through the process of replacing and repairing our equipment.
Has this reduced our ability to communicate up there, or are we back up and running?
So we are up and running. We did not lose service up there. We do have some vulnerabilities if we lose commercial power, because the generator is partly dismantled, but more importantly, the bad guys stole the transfer switch between commercial power and e-power, generator power. That's not an inexpensive item, and it's not easily replaced. So even if we want to bring up a portable generator, that transfer switch is missing. So there is some vulnerability.
Is that something that West Oregon can't provide for us, even on a temporary basis?
It has to be rewired. The whole thing is because all the copper is gone, everything has to be re-plumbed between the generator and the switch and tied to commercial. So it's a heavy lift.
It seems like we maybe want to consider in the future having outward-facing cameras to be recording things back home here as people approach the site versus just inside. If we don't have any, I mean, if they took everything out.
Yeah, the cameras did point to the gate, the tower, and the front door of the shelter.
And so do we have that recorded?
Unfortunately, they came in behind the cameras.
Correct. So where they came into the compound was behind the view of the cameras, and then they cut the feeds to the cameras, which are in conduit outside the building.
Well, it doesn't take much to be smarter than metal thieves, so I'm sure we'll figure it out for the future.
Yes.
Hey, Mike, contact SDAO on that, or is that just our insurance agent, or how do we do that?
So we contact our agent, who then contacts SDAO, and the process rolls from there. So Chris is on it, and we have an adjuster already assigned.
Thank you.
Do we have any ETA on having that thing back fully functional?
No, we don't. I'll leave it at that. There is certainly something going on in the infrastructure part of this country, getting parts and pieces. It's incredible. So.
So is Day Wireless working on that? Is that
Yep.
who you got on it?
So we have both Power Systems West, who is responsible for the emergency power up there, or Western Oregon Electric for the transfer switch and commercial power connection, and Day Wireless for the grounding and other parts and pieces that are missing up there.
Thank you.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's not a good time up there on the hill.
No.
Anything else on that, Henry? That's you had some really good questions and points there. So.
No, I think I'm good. I'm irritated.
Mike and I talk a lot about this, so unfortunately, I think your point is good, Henry. It doesn't take much to outsmart the metal thieves. Hopefully we can come up with a better solution. Okay, let's move into director's updates.
Hold on. Sorry to interrupt. Before we do that, we'll go back to RQI. I heard from Julie. So she's actually on her way to DC right now, so she's responding via the plane. So she said, yes, we can do a year to year. The price is really the best that we can do. In fact, they're actually not covering labor costs with it, so they're taking a bit of a loss. But it's important for them to retain us as a customer, as we were their first in the nation. They also recognized that the last person who wrote up our contract failed to follow through with letting us know of the price increase at the contract renewal. So that was kind of sprung on us initially when we had that price increase for the QA stuff. So they just wanted to keep it at that price. So she said, we're more than welcome to do a 12-month contract, but if we do the 2-year contract, we're locked in at that price.
What is the labor piece? I mean, what do they do for us from a labor standpoint?
They do the scenarios, so one-on-one coaching with employees. So they have all of our staff each quarter has a 30-minute session with the RQI coach. They do stats for the scenarios and all that stuff, and have meetings with us about that as well. And then they're also available to staff at any time if they have questions or want to run things by them.
So the $7,000 some is plus any actual work that they do?
No, that's all included. And so, and then the other piece too is they develop the training for us. And so we have a separate session of training each quarter that's online. And then we have the scenario training that's on a phone with someone. So every employee gets an hour of continuing education related to CPR each quarter. So for a year, which also helps us meet our requirements for the state to have our mandatory EMD training for the year.
Okay, well, I guess I'm not too object to a 2-year contract as long as we pay for it 1 year at a time. Is that allowed?
That's what we did.
I did not take that to be the case. I think if we go year to year, the price could increase next year, or you just you want to know if we can pay for 1 year but be in a 2-year contract. I mean, genuinely, Henry, we've had it for 2 years now. I don't anticipate any reason to quit. It only continues to get better with the analytics that they provide for us. They're always very flexible, and the training is well received by staff. So there definitely is value with it, and especially for our newer staff coming in, there's going to be added value for them because they can experience these types of calls in a training setting versus live to help them build confidence and familiarity with our system and our EMD cards and running through those types of calls where there can be different challenges associated as well. You know, usually you don't have just a cut and dry CPR call. Usually there's other impacts and challenges to it. So those can cause people to get a little bit flustered knowing the severity of the call. So to be able to have that opportunity to train on those types of things in a training environment is very beneficial.
You're preaching to the choir. But I think that my point is you guys are always out there looking for the newest, greatest, and best thing going. And I just wanted to make sure that we don't pay for something and then 6 months from now there's something better out there that you want to switch to, and we've locked ourselves into 2 years of this thing.
I think this is the first training of its kind for RQI, and I'm not aware of any other companies. We're very happy with the product, so I wouldn't anticipate trying to leave for something else.
I would also,
And also understand we're in a 2-year contract. I wouldn't suggest that until it came available to change. So.
Thank you.
All right, Sean, I am back. Again, sorry guys, but when the cardiologist calls back, that's a call you take.
Understood. I hope everything's okay.
Yes, will be.
Good. I don't know if you heard, but we looped back up to our QI renewal, and Laura was sharing the value, and then Henry was asking about the 1 versus 2, which she found out he would honor. Sounds don't only put words in your mouth, Laura. I'm trying to regurgitate here on the fly and not doing a very good job.
Yeah, so essentially we could do year to year, but if we do a 2-year contract, then we're locked in at the price we've been quoted. So.
Mr. Chair, we have a motion on the table as it pertains to the board member position. I would suggest that we pull that off and take action on that and then move back to this RQI for a motion.
That sounds good. Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Let us go back to board member vacancy, Shelley Hennessy. We had a motion and a second to appoint, I would say, but swearing in wouldn't happen until next meeting. Am I right on the mechanics of that? Does that sound right?
from staff's
Okay.
perspective, yes.
Okay. It has been moved in second, and Rob, I provided the second on accepting her application, and appointing her. Do you have any discussion, anything else you'd like to ask or state?
Ready to move forward.
Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All right, not quite official, Shelley, but in a month we should be able to swear you in. And thanks again for your willingness.
Thank you, Shelley.
Thank you.
And sorry for leaving you teetering there on the cliff of waiting for the vote.
Drama.
Totally understand.
And Shelley,
Reality show has built-in drama.
I'll be reaching out to you and we can go over logistics of what to expect and dates and times in the future.
Okay, thank you.
And Mike, I'm sure you'll let me know if there's any more board responsibility that I can assist in. So,
Thank you.
okay.
I move that we approve the RQI renewal for 2 years as presented.
I second.
Thank you. It has been moved and seconded to approve the RQI renewal as presented. Any more discussion?
No, this is it. I think it's good that we double checked about what our options were, and thank you, Laura, for getting the quick turnaround on that.
No problem. Thank you.
Luckily, she was available, so that worked out good. Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All right, motion carries. We talked about Corey Hill vandalism. Maybe Mike could talk to you separately about that, Rob, but if you're okay, we're going to move on to director's updates.
We're good. If that doesn't take any action, I can get more info later.
Rob, don't leave. We do need to go back to old business. feel like a ping pong game this meeting, but old business, radio site relocation study, and I do need board action on this. So, Henry, for your edification here, last month's meeting, I presented to the board a request for approval for a radio site relocation study. The district has an open contract for services with Mark Palins and Associates. During this last few months, the district has been in contract negotiations with Day Wireless for the renewal of the lease site at the Columbia Heights location. During those conversations, on a sidebar conversation that I was having with Cowlitz 911, we were talking radio sites, and they had been in long-term negotiations in the Columbia County area trying to find a site to shoot into Kalama. One thing led to another. We had a conversation about Columbia 911 rebuilding our Meisner site. I offered to let them do a study and see if that would help them at all. It did. Their board approved on condition of the construction of our site at Meisner to relocate there. In conjunction with that conversation, we always look for opportunities that can improve our standing with the radio system. So conversations centered around their Columbia Heights site, which is just to the east and a little bit further south on the same ridgeline that we're currently occupying with the Day Wireless site. Why this is important is the contract negotiations with Day Wireless. It's a significant price increase for us. We've been paying $0 for all these years, and we're looking at somewhere in the neighborhood of $24,000 to $28,000 per year. So, trying to be fiscally prudent with the district's dollars, I asked if Cowlitz 911 would entertain us co-locating with them at their site. So this request for board approval is, I have a quote from Mark Palins. It's a bid quote of $9,600. I'm asking for authorization to award not to exceed $10,560. So I said all this last month. The board actually approved it, but during our preparation for this month's meeting, Mary Jo, like a hawk, caught a technical error in our process from last month. So while we had a good, healthy conversation amongst the board and staff, the board failed to make a proper motion and a second, and then approved the award of the contract. So what I'm trying to do today is just a redo. Once we discovered the error, I didn't move forward with Palins. It's just been sitting dormant on my desk until this meeting. So I'm again repeating myself just to have the conversation, and then if the board's pleasure, to take a motion and move forward.
And I have to apologize. My meeting, right? So I guess I missed that. So I apologize to
those things happen.
And board.
Okay, so just clarification, because I wasn't here last month. What you're asking for Palins to do is study the other Cowlitz County sites to see if it would work as well for us as the current Day Wireless site does. And if all of that for $10,000 were to come back with a thumbs up, then we could go into negotiations with Cowlitz County for some kind of a trade agreement or something like that. You use our site, we use ours, and move on into the future.
That's
correct. What I'm hearing?
Exactly correct. Mr. Palins would be conducting RF studies because we don't want any unintended consequences by moving. So that's what his work would do. He would make sure that there's no interference between the Cowlitz 911 equipment and ours, and that our radio coverage in shooting into Columbia County is not degraded. Dependent on those results, exactly correct, then we would go into formal negotiations on a trade for services and placement, our site, their site. I
I would just imagine that Day Wireless already has all this information. Not that they would do anything to shoot their own foot, but I can't imagine that they don't know how everybody's radio sites are working up there. I mean, unless, of course, they don't do any work for Cowlitz.
So yes and no. So the two sides, the two houses of Day Wireless, there's the admin lease department, and then there's the operations. So operations, I've had conversations with them. They fully understand what we're trying to accomplish, and they're assisting us in that process. While I would prefer to get an independent, non-biased opinion from an RF engineer, which is what Mark provides for us, I think that's in our best interest. At the same time, I'm asking the operations side of Day Wireless to get me a quote of what the physical move would be. Antennas, radios, all that stuff over to the, because there's going to be a cost involved in that. So before we make any decisions and go into negotiations with Cowlitz 911, I want all my ducks in a row. If there's unintended consequences, if there's degradation of propagation, and the cost of the move, so we have that all sitting before you before the board approves the actual move.
If I can, Henry, part of it is Day was involved with a previous move. I believe it was off of Goose, if my memory serves me right, which was something similar when DNR quadrupled what their lease rate was going to be, that we got to the trickle down. And Day said, yeah, we could move over to the other site and it would be fine. And then we found out that it had detrimental effect on South County, quite significant, which then causes us to expend even more money on these remote receivers. So the idea and the discussion took place was that we would rather have another individual agency or firm do the studies to ensure that we're not going to have any unintentional consequences like we did last time. And that truly, if we're doing this for a cost-saving measure, that it's not going to cause us to have to create holes that we're going to have to chase and end up having to spend more money to fill.
Good points. So, matter of mechanics here, Mike. We had moved and seconded what we had. Do we have to? Oh, we did not. We did not move and second. So
that is correct.
But I guess, yeah. So I guess for what Mike is requesting, I would so move to reaffirm the previous action, which was to approve the having Palins do the research as presented from Mike.
yeah, just to address that a little bit. Yeah, it was in the last month's packet. Like you said, 9,600 plus contingency not to exceed 10,560. Just pointing that out.
Thank you.
Second.
Okay, it is moved and seconded to approve the quote with Palins as presented to us to not to exceed 10,560 for the purpose of evaluating the Columbia Heights alternate site. Any other discussion?
Just one point, and that's that in Rob's motion, he said something about reaffirming last month's motion, and I don't know what the omission or error was in the motion, but I think what we're really asking for here is just approval of the radio site relocation study with Palins.
Yeah, it's to formalize the consensus into a motion and move forward.
Yeah.
As presented. Okay, thank you. Call for a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. All right, I'm a little bumbled up here. Where we at?
So, the only other thing I have is one piece of director's update, and then we do have on the agenda executive session for labor negotiations. That's where we are, Mr. President.
Okay. How about your updates then, sir?
So the only other thing that I was going to report, I guess I'm proud to report that Governor Brown has appointed me to serve on the board of directors for the Department of Public Safety Standards and Training. I've gone through the nomination and the Senate confirmation hearings. I am appointed and will be sworn in July. With that appointment, I serve on the executive committee of DPSST, and I serve as the chair of the state's 911 program. So, just letting the board know that that's taking place.
What was the other part of that? You said the executive committee, and then what was the other thing?
So I serve on the board of directors for the DPSST. I'm placed into the executive committee of the agency, and I serve as the chair of the telecommunications 911 side.
Awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Any advice, Mike, on the time commitments with that?
I serve a 3-year term. I'm available to be do a second term for 3 years. The meetings are quarterly for the board of directors. The executive committee is as needed. The chair of the 911 portion, I'm not positive. I don't have that schedule yet. There will be an impact of potential conflicts with this board meeting. They meet on quarterly on the same third Thursday of the month. So moving forward, I do have a conflict for our next board meeting, July 22nd, with both of us attending or having the same board meetings at the same time.
Okay. Is there any questions for Mike or?
Well, I guess the only question I have about next month is, typically our July meeting is when we do all of our committee appointments and reaffirm our meeting schedule and all of those things. So I guess we would have to figure out what we're going to do if Mike's not going to be at our meeting next month.
A couple suggestions I could throw out there. I'm still available after that meeting in Salem. I could be back in the office around noon, or we could have an afternoon meeting if that's your pleasure, or a potential move to the August 5th date and hold both. Historically, the board has skipped their August meeting, but we could hold a July and August meeting on August 5th if that's your pleasure.
Fellow board members, any thoughts or?
Checking my calendar.
Okay.
Because obviously I think we are going to have our August meetings. That's when we're have an August meeting to probably get a radio report from F&E or FE.
Correct. I don't have an exact date when that actual report will be done. Our goal is the end of July. I'll have the draft.
And I'm not available on the 5th. But that, as long as you can get a quorum, I guess that's...
What about the afternoon of the 22nd? Was that out for folks or?
I can make the afternoon on the 22nd work.
Like Rob's checking the schedule there too.
Currently, July 22nd is open for me.
That would be your potential swearing in there, Miss Hennessy. Does that work for you?
I will be out of town, but I can make, if we're doing this virtual, I can make that happen.
Okay.
What are the rules on that as far as swearing somebody in virtually? I mean, that's typically a face-to-face, hands-on thing. I know that there must be a way to do it. Other people have been doing it, but we probably ought to figure that out.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. Generally, it is face-to-face, but I can check with legal on if in this new environment if we can do that. But I can get back to the board on that.
Okay.
The only other caveat I had for the 22nd is I work the 21st, so as long as I don't have a late call, because shift changes at 8, I should be able to attend.
It
We're
would,
talking about afternoon.
yeah, it'd be an afternoon meeting.
Oh, the afternoon. Perfect.
It'd have to be a really late call.
You never know.
Yes.
Yeah.
Amen.
So what time are we talking about, Mr. Chair?
1 o'clock. Does that work?
Okay.
Is that a motionable item? Do we need to take action on that?
I don't believe so. It's just scheduling, making an adjustment to the schedule for the meeting.
Consensus.
Goes out with
Consensus.
our announcements.
Yeah.
So, okay.
We'll reach out to Bruce. He's on vacation, but we'll send him a note and make sure he's okay with that.
I'm going to FaceTime him right now. I'm kidding. Why are you missing this call? All right. I think we're at the point where we are going into executive session. Well, you only had that one update, then, Mike.
That's all I had. That's all I had, Sean.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. At this point, we are going to go into executive session of ORS 192.6602D, labor negotiations. Will there be a decision?
No, sir.
There will be no decision, so once we come back out, we will finish with member comments, look at agenda items, and adjourn the meeting. So with that, let's go into executive session. Take, 4 minutes? Do we need that? See it 10:11?
Very good.
10:10.
We are recording, and Nathan is opening the waiting room. Okay, thumbs up. So we're ready to go.
Okay, welcome back. All right, let's look at agenda items for July 22nd, 2021. Well, looks like we have one. That's one thing. Any other things folks would like added, or? We'll look for the usual. How about other business member comments? Mr. Heimler, would you like to share?
Sure. Thank you. Just a couple of things. First of all, as was mentioned earlier, the county fair is happening this year, and that's starting in just a little over 2 weeks, which is hard to believe. And anybody knows of any volunteers or folks that can help our fair board out, keep in mind those guys just discovered that we've met all the rules that we could actually have a fair about 4.5 weeks ago. And of course, they had been doing some planning to try to be in the just-in-case mode, but the bottom line is they skipped the fair last year by mandate. This year, we had an all-new fair board last year except for one member. And so this year's fair will be the first fair that this fair board has put on. And they've had to coordinate the actual putting of this thing together in the course of a month. It will be 6 weeks by the time fair happens. Typically, that's about an 8.5-month process. And so a couple of things. One of the things that they're running into is lack of vendors. and this is a statewide, probably nationwide problem, because many of, say, food vendors and things like that have hung up their spurs for the whole year, because if they haven't gotten out and gotten onto the circuit by April, they've lost their profitability for the year, so it's cheaper for them to just keep their stuff mothballed. And the other thing is volunteers. Typically, it takes us 150 volunteers a day to make the fair happen. And there's going to be people that still are a little edgy about getting out with the COVID restrictions, whether it's their health or their age, or they've chosen not to get vaccinated, or one thing or the other. But we're going to be doing an on-site vaccine clinic at the fair the whole time. But anybody that you can think of that might want to volunteer or wants to put together a church group to hold a food booth or sell hot dogs or something like that, have them call the fair office, because I want to do everything we can to support our fair board and in getting the fair off the ground. And they could have just as easily said, we're sidelining this year too, we'll wait till we come back for a normal year. But they're going at it full speed the best they can. So that was number one. And number two, I don't know if all of you all have heard, but we've hired a new emergency manager. His name's Chris Carey. He's coming to us from Los Angeles County by way of Hoboken. He's a very brilliant young man, and we've had him. We brought him up here for a couple-day field trip, and that as he became our finalist, and really look forward to getting him on board. He actually starts on the same day the fair opens, the 14th of July. So we'll put him right to work. But nonetheless, I hope you all help me welcome Chris Carey as he shows up here to become the county's new emergency manager. So I think with that, that's all I have, Mr. President.
Excellent. Good news. That's great to hear. Yeah, kudos to the fair folks for getting that pulled together. My word, that's a major lift. Yeah, I'll spread the word here, at least internally at the port, and I know we're going to have a booth there, but we'll see if any staff want to get involved and volunteer. Who should they reach out to? Just the fair board? Is there like a general email, or?
Just they can go to the county fair's website,
Okay.
or they can just dial the 4231 St. Helens number. Somebody there answering the phone right now.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Anderson, what do you have for us?
Well, first, my apologies, and thank you to the fellow board members, staff, and public attending for my variability of coming in and out of the meeting. If I wasn't needed for the quorum, I just would have dropped out probably earlier. Excellent job rolling with the flow there, Sean. And Henry, you passed the impromptu parliamentarian point of order testing that took place.
Oh, so that means I don't have to do any more of that testing this year, right?
Bingo.
All right.
And congratulations to Shelley. Look forward to your swearing in. I think we would like to try to do it in person. It's a little nicer that way, but we'll see what happens.
Well, I won't be here. I won't even be in Oregon, so I won't be here July 22nd, but I can be virtual. So.
Will you have a Bible with you?
That I will. I'll be at my sister's, so.
I don't know. We don't swear on a Bible, do we?
No, sir.
The other thing, Mike, that could happen, I'm sorry to break into Rob's diatribe here, but Shelley can be sworn in. She doesn't have to be sworn in at a board meeting. She can be sworn in, at the county clerk's office, or, perhaps you could even find somebody that could do it in Vernonia. It just has to be an official documented session, but I don't think it has to happen during a board meeting. In fact, I was sworn in one time for 911 at the fire station in St. Helens by Linda Waters. So.
That's good.
Good to know.
You might get sworn in before next month.
That's, yeah.
Yeah.
Rob, were you good?
That is it. Thanks again.
I will extend congratulations to Mr. Fletcher on your appointment. That's a huge honor, and I know you'll make us proud, as you do. And congratulations, Shelley, for the appointment, and I hope the swearing in works out if it happens before our next meeting. How have we figured that out? And I, as usual, appreciate the excellent work that our staff continues to do on a daily basis, you know, whether it's saving lives or getting cats out of trees or whatever whatever those calls are. And, you know, I know it takes a whole team to make that all happen. So appreciate each and every one of you for your participation in this fine organization. Is there anything else to come before the board?
If I may say, I would be available to come over there almost any time. So I could come over to Columbia County or whatever if need be. So if that's helpful at all, just let me know.
Okay, Shelley, we'll be in touch.
Mike, what do you need? I mean, I know this isn't necessarily a staff deal, but what do you need from me on that?
I'll clarify with legal, make sure that we have our ducks in a row and we're doing everything correctly.
Okay, I appreciate that.
I believe Henry is correct. Swearing in any time works. It's just, you know, we like to make it a memorial event,
Yes.
you know, and recognizable.
Selfies, the whole thing, right? All right, folks. Hey, thanks for everybody's attendance today, guests as well, and we will adjourn the meeting and see you all soon. Be well.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thank you all.
Goodbye.